Okay, what do you guys think? I feel like these balloons behind me are giving like gender reveal balloons. I got them for Brandon's birthday. His birthday is actually the day that I'm recording this. And then I put them up and I was like, why do they look like they don't belong here? Like, where do they look like they belong? Anyways, if you're new here, hi, I'm Madison. Thanks so much for tuning into another episode. I talk about all things spiritual and metaphysical on my channel, and I do a lot of channeled messages through the Akashic Records. If you are not familiar with what the Akashic Records are, it is simply a way of tapping into universal consciousness, your spirit guide team, and really being able to say, hey, what are some of these fundamental truths, and kind of how does the world or the universe work? And you can sort of go in and connect with a spirit guide, ask questions. And so one thing that I have personally wondered, but I've also seen a lot of people ask about, is the question, is Earth a school? I think some people are like, yes, 100% Earth is a school. Some people are like, not at all. And so I was just kind of curious for myself because I feel like I have learned a lot as a soul being here on Earth, but I don't feel like it's just we're coming here for school. I feel like there's more to it. So that's kind of what I wanted to explore. So I went into the Akashic Records. I connected with my spirit guide. In the Akashic Records, I have a spirit guide named Jules that I work with. And so every time I go into the Akashic Records, it is that same spirit guide that I'm working with. So I just kind of opened by just saying, like, is Earth a school? And so immediately, kind of the response that came through was, think of your lifetime on Earth as your soul being able to pick why and when you came, and realize that some of the things that you're doing in this life are predestined. So let's unpack that before we get further. So in the Akashic Records, there is the belief or kind of the premise that before we incarnate into a human body, we as a soul have said, yes, I'm coming back to Earth. I'm going to incarnate as a woman, and her sole purpose is going to be to learn everything that she can about spirituality and metaphysics, and then just share that knowledge with whoever is interested, right? So it's kind of a loose predestined plan, right? It's not necessarily that here's all the pieces. It's kind of like, here's what we're gonna do. There's an intention, but there's not like a bold plan, right? And then you kind of create that journey for yourself whenever you're here on Earth. But to further answer, is Earth a school? What came through was Earth is whatever you want it to be, need it to be, or create it to be. A lot of souls do come here for lessons or mastery around topics or relationships, while others come for experiences, enjoyment, love, or other specific reasons, such as maybe light workers who maybe came here to raise the vibration of the planet. So let's recap that again. Earth is whatever you want it, need it, or create it to be. A lot of people do come here for lessons or mastery around topics or relationships, while others come here for experiences, enjoyment, love, or other specific reasons. So whenever your soul chooses to incarnate to planet Earth as a human, there is a reason and a purpose. And sometimes that is because you want to understand and master the physical world, the 3D world. You want to experience true love in physical form. Maybe it's because you want to contribute something to the scientific community here. Maybe it's because you're here and you're a light worker. Maybe it's because you're here and you want to raise the next generation of light workers. Like, there's so many reasons, right? So is Earth a school for some? Absolutely. Does everybody learn something in the process? Absolutely. And does Earth have to be a school? No. Like, for sure you're going to learn something in the journey, but it's not necessarily like your soul guaranteed signing up for Earth thinking I'm going back to school. Your soul may have thought, oh, I'm going to experience love, and then along that journey you learned some things, but it's not necessarily Earth is just a school. Another thing, kind of talking about light workers, is if you came here as a light worker, you will have to overcome lessons, specifically soul lessons that allow you to evolve. Here's what I mean by that. So, for me, a big soul lesson that I am learning in this lifetime is to be able to meet people where they're at, rather than thinking people maybe are further ahead than they are, or giving people maybe more credit than maybe they need in the moment, or whatever that looks like, right? And that's something that I've had to kind of learn and go through several times. And it's like one of those lessons that I just keep kind of learning, right? Then there's other lessons I've had to learn around boundaries and around, hey, I have a mission and a purpose here. On earth, and I have people that I love and that I want to spend time with, but there's also people that maybe want my energy or my time that are sort of distractions, and I have to be able to set up boundaries, because if I don't, I'm not going to be able to fulfill what I want to do while I'm here, you know? So you always have to have kind of that dynamic of both, where like I didn't personally come here in this lifetime to go to earth school. I came here more to be a light worker, and through that I've learned a lot of different things. So, another key thing I want to talk about is karma. So, regardless of whether or not you believe Earth's a school, Earth's not, from kind of what I channeled, take, whatever you feel like aligns with, your belief system. Drop any questions in the comments, happy to answer. But one thing that was sort of like, regardless of what you believe about this is kind of a fundamental truth. Every person experiences karma. Some master it, some stay in victim mode. So, what that means is, if you're going to incarnate from a soul into a human body and you're going to have physical experiences, you are going to encounter karma. And whenever you experience those karmic lessons, you can either say, I'm going to learn from this and not make the same mistake in the future, or you can play the victim and be like, oh, life's so hard, only bad things happen to me, other people have it easier, I got dealt a bad hand, whatever, you know? And not to minimize those of you that are in a bad situation, because I do, at a very deep soul level, understand what it's like to be in a situation where maybe you're in a bad marriage, or you just have a bad family situation going on. Maybe you're struggling financially. Like, a lot of the bad life situations, I get it, and I've been through, and I'm not at all trying to dismiss those, but at some point you have to say, that was my story, but that story doesn't get to define who I am in the future, right? And for me, I struggled with this a lot whenever I had to make that shift from the concept of, whenever I first got into AA, for example, I was like, if this hadn't happened, I wouldn't be here. If this person hadn't done that, I wouldn't be here, whatever, right? And the reality is, I needed to take responsibility for the fact that I can't control my drinking. And that is, a thing that I had to kind of work through, right? And I had to shift from victim mentality of, here's all the reasons that I'm here and it's not my fault, to, regardless of all that, I want my life to be different. I want to heal, and I'm the one that made the decision to take all 727,000 drinks that got me into AA. And so that's been a really big fundamental shift that I've made, is understanding karma, and also understanding when things that are happening to me are karma, whether it be from this life or past lives. So here's what I mean for that. An example of direct karma is like, you get on the highway, you cut somebody off, 5 minutes later, somebody cuts you off. That's direct karma. You're experiencing the same thing within a similar time period. An example of indirect karma might be, maybe you make fun of somebody when you're in elementary school. Then when you get to middle school, now maybe somebody else is making fun of you, and now you're experiencing that negative energy that you gave to somebody else. So karma is just the concept that everything is just kind of like a boomerang effect when it comes to energy. Whatever you put out, you get back in whatever capacity you give that out, right? So everybody experiences karma. Some master it and say, okay, what is karma? How does it work? How can I understand it? I actually have a whole video on karma, if you guys want to go watch that as well on, I don't know if it's under my lives or just my regular videos, but type in karma, I'm sure you can find it. So you can either master karma, or you can stay in victim mode. I've definitely been on both sides. I've been in victim mode for most of my life, and now I've shifted to trying to master and understand karma in a way where I take responsibility and accountability, but I also make different decisions moving forward. I'll give you an example. In the program of AA, we do this thing where we make amends to people whenever we do things wrong. And whenever I first came into the program, I had done and said a lot of things that I owed a lot of people apologies for. And then as I went through the program, some of those old behaviors that I had when I was in addiction were still coming through in recovery, right? And so then now I'm sober and I'm having to, make these amends from the past, from the present, all this different stuff. And eventually I was like, I don't want to feel like I owe anybody an apology anymore. I just want to feel like I'm only giving love to people and I'm only getting love back. And there's been a couple times with family situations where I've wanted to maybe respond in the way that the old version of me would have responded, and then I have to be like, okay, wait, then what's gonna happen is I'm gonna say like 7 things too rude or too far, and then I'm gonna end up having to apologize later to this person that I don't even like because I overstepped or got involved in something that was none of my business or not my place to say or whatever, right? And so now I have that level of awareness and I can think things through to the end and can say, like, moving forward, this is not, I just unsubscribe from all of it, right? I don't want to be a part of any of it. And, I can kind of make those different decisions, but it's hard and it takes time to get to that point. So, that is a message for today on whether or not Earth is a school. So it absolutely can be if you want it to be, but it doesn't have to be. I've definitely seen people who their Akashic records or their sole purpose is literally they're here to experience love. They're here to experience the joys and pleasures of life. They're here to just like experience the good, right? And so that can absolutely be a reason why you came here as well. So if you guys want more content, I do videos on YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday, and I actually do activations on my website every Monday through my 5G membership. It is a monthly membership that you can try for a week for free, and then after that it is only $22 a month. You get access to a library of videos on things such as how to access your Akashic records, how to access your soul purpose, how to do a past life regression, and you also get new content that comes out every single Monday. So if that is aligned for you, the website will always be linked in the show notes and also in my bio. If you want to work with me one-on-one, I do offer Akashic Records readings and Akashic Records classes. If you want to learn how to do your own Akashic Records or have me tap into your Akashic Records, everything that I offer can be done from anywhere in the world via Zoom, with the exception of I do have a few in-person spiritual circles here in Greensboro in North Carolina, and those are also linked on my website. Would love to have you guys join me in person or virtually or in the 5D community. Hope you all are having a beautiful day. Would love to have you subscribe to the channel, like, and share with anybody else who you think would be interested in the topic of whether or not Earth is a school. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.